I'm not saying I feel sorry for him, he's brought it on himself, but it is a very, it's a Greek tragedy, isn't it? The way he's fallen from the young man who came back from the Falklands as a war hero. It's quite an extraordinary. I've been doing the Royals now 40 years and started with his wedding, and to see it go through like this, it's just absolutely unbelievable. Really, you couldn't really make it up. But it's a very sad situation.
And not over.
Not over, no.
Not over.
By any means.
The lack of visitors, or the few visitors, as we mentioned, have come through, they don't include Beatrice and Eugenie. And I want to get your thoughts about the story over the weekend that suggested that both of them will be, or they have been, effectively banned from Royal Ascot, which, look, we go to Royal Ascot. I've seen you both there, actually, in the recent couple of years. It's a great event. It's called Royal Ascot because the royal family turn up the carriages, everyone cheers, everyone's happy to see them, they're cheering on the horses. Apparently, Beatrice and Eugenie won't be there this year.
No, well, things are changing quickly. I mean, when they were invited to Sandringham for Christmas, that seemed like the King and William were putting a sort of arm around them and saying, you're not to blame for what's happening. That now seems to be, just 3 months later, that now seems to be changing a lot. The knives seem to be out for them a bit, don't they? And they're coming under increasing speculation. They appeared several times in the Epstein files. People are starting to ask where they get their money from, even looking into Eugenie's anti-slavery charity. Some of the money there seems to be spent on expenses like a lot of these charities and doesn't end up in the right place. So they really are coming under the microscope now. So I can understand why the King, William would probably want to distance themselves from them in public. Again, what they're saying to them privately might be a different matter, but some of these stories are speculative. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they do go to Ascot. I don't think that's been, I don't think anyone really knows, to be honest. And certainly there was one story around a couple of weeks ago that Eugenie had cut all ties with her father, and I don't believe that to be true at all. I mean, I think behind the scenes, both Bea and Eugenie have been talking to both their parents, and much as they're embarrassed by them and much as they're obviously very, worried about them, I don't think either of them are the sort of people who just cut them off and not speak to them at all. So I don't think that story is true. So the Royal Ascot story, we'll just wait and see. I mean, there's nothing to stop them going privately, of course. Yes. They could just go. They might not be in the procession. They might not be at the lunch beforehand. They might not be in the royal box, but they might just meet up with friends, and go somewhere else in the royal enclosure. So I don't think you can ban them as such, but certainly the general thought that the royals will want to not be seen in public with them for some time is as Elsa says, trying to get the whole thing to die down a bit, and so that we can have a sort of period of calm for a while.
Yeah, and I think where are we in June? Yeah, I think it depends on if the story has gone away, or if there's a new revelation. Yeah. Then it's less likely that they will go to Ascot. I just think, we're only in March. I just think we need to see where we're going to be in June.
I mean, do you think if he's removed from the line of succession that they would be as well? Or do you think they'd go that far? Or
I think, as you said earlier...
You start to strip away massive layers, aren't you? Yeah. I mean, personally, I'd remove Harry and Meghan, Harry and his children as well, but you're then down to sort of number 10 or 11, aren't you?
And also, I think, it's a huge process to remove someone from the line of succession, as you said, because you've got to get the realms on board as well. Yeah. So the first step is Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, then to go to that next step and remove the girls, and what have they done? It's almost, they're being tarnished by the sins of their parents. So, should they be, I suppose, is the question. I've met both princesses many, many times. They're lovely girls. I think they've got their feet firmly on the ground.
We keep calling them girls, don't we? But they're 37 and 35 and both got two, happily married mothers. But I mean, I think that was true a few months ago, that everyone thought they are the innocent victims. But now people are looking at it more closely. The fact that, they were 20 odd when they met Epstein, and whether or not they've had any, if there's more to come out, anything that comes out that shows they've had any financial gain from association with him, and I think they're toast as well.
Yeah. Only time will tell.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck by Phil's comment earlier that we're looking for a period of calm, which isn't going to happen. Phil,
you don't like periods of calm.
It's not going to.
You like to be busy.
It's not going to be calm. It carries on going. Interesting about you saying that you time with Beatrice and Eugenie. How do you think they're coping at the moment? Because you say we haven't seen them at any kind of major events or anything like that. They're obviously watching or experiencing in real time what's happening to their parents. We don't know where Sarah is. I mean, how do you think are the girls, are they ever going to come back? Are they ever going to, if they don't go to Ascot, are they ever going to be welcomed back to maybe a big public event? We've got Commonwealth Day ceremony on Monday. They're not on the list of royals to attend there.
Yeah. It's
They've got this difficult balancing act, haven't they? Because, you know, Beatrice is, what, 8th in line to the throne? Her children, she's a counsellor in line to the throne, then Eugene is, you know, and she's a counsellor of state. And yet, you know, they're not doing any royal duties as such, you know. So it's a very, and I thought before all this blew up, there might be a case, we talked about it earlier, something, you know, the older royals are sort of getting on, the Duke of Kent's and people like that. And they are getting thin on the ground with Harry and Meghan leaving and Andrew in disgrace. So that there might have been, you know, the King and William might have wanted to use B and Eugenie a bit more, doing some royal jobs. But now I think that's out of the question. So it's very difficult. And as for Fergie, she used to call themselves the tripod, didn't she?
Yes.
Her and her daughters, they were so intertwined. But we haven't seen anything of her for, what, months. And she's supposed to have been in Ireland at a health farm, supposed to have been in the Alps skiing, supposed to have been in the Middle East. Speculation she might have gone on to Australia to see her sister. I don't think anyone knows where she is. Maybe Portugal. I don't know. But she can't run forever. No. She's got to come back one day and face the music in some way, shape or form. Reportedly hasn't got anywhere to live yet. So, you know, when she comes back, that's going to be another circus.
Well, you're right. You know, you talked about the three of them, but of course it was the four of them. You know, they were the most happily divorced couple in the world. And I've got Christmas cards from the Yorks with a photograph, you know, post-divorce of the four of them there. I don't quite know what to do with these cards now. I don't know whether if I sell them on eBay whether I'll get much. But you know, they were still sort of a family unit, even though they'd gone through a divorce. And to have that unit totally and utterly crushed now.
Well, they made out they were a family unit, and I'm sure they did a lot for the children and possibly stayed together for many years for their sake. But once the children grew up, I think it was a strange kind of Faustian pact, really, that they stayed together. I mean, I don't think there was any romance involved in it. They both had other partners, and other, you know, as we know, certainly know with Andrew, but so even Sarah did as well. So it is a weird one. They are an odd couple in that sense, but I'm sure that for many years their first priority was bringing them up,
which is commendable, actually.
And as you say, you know, they're much better than I do. You know, they have, you know, ostensibly very nice people, but to be caught up in this is very, very difficult for them.
Well, I'll tell you who was at Royal Ascot last year. To remind you who was at Royal Ascot last year, it was Sarah Ferguson. And if memory serves me right, when all the carriages arrived, etc., I'm pretty sure we have a photograph of the King kissing Sarah Ferguson's hand.
And welcome up at Balmoral for holidays, up at Sandringham for Christmas up until the last couple of years.
Even so she was very much Duchess of Kent's funeral.
Yeah, she was very much back in the fold and loving every minute of it. And now that's all changed.
Do you think that'll happen again?